Good evening, everybody. Welcome to First Church. Welcome to our Thursday evening Louise Hay class, our self-healing class. This is, I believe, the longest running Louise Hay class anywhere. We meet every Thursday. Really happy that you're here. Many of you are signing in now on this Zoom call. You can also watch this broadcast on Facebook and YouTube. Everything we do here is put on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So you'll find directions to those channels in the chat room. So we meet on Thursday nights. First Church also has a creative living series every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, the same Zoom links. And Sunday morning, we have a meditation at 10:45, followed by a lesson in truth. And one of the things that's unique about us is we always have time for personal sharing afterwards. So you can comment on the lessons, what you're learning, what your demonstrations are. So just stay tuned with us. If you'd like to be on our, receive our invitations, in a private message, send Jimmy or the church your contact information, and we'll be sure that we send you out our e-letter, and you'll be invited to all of our broadcasts. So this evening we continue on with the Louise Hay work. I believe this is, again, the longest running class probably in the country. You might not know that Louise Hay was a student and a practitioner here at this First Church in New York City. I have a long story with Louise Hay, but I'll give you the short version. I was living in Florida at the time, in Miami, very close to a Unity church, and someone gave me a cassette to listen to, which was entitled "You Can Heal Your Life," and I listened to it. It was actually meant for somebody else. Within a week or so, the Unity Church had a big sign out there in front of their church, which said, "You can heal your life." So I was one of the very first people attending, and after a month or two, 3 months, I think it was, I was facilitating that group because the facilitator accepted a job elsewhere. And I never planned to be involved in this. I was actually going, again, for information that was meant for somebody else, but I'm glad I stayed. I've been staying with it and presenting it every week since. And I've presented this material to every type of group you can imagine, every type of church, every type, the school system, addiction treatment programs, centers, where people spend a lot of money for the messages, and also I brought it into community centers and presented it for absolutely free. This material initially impacted the world and helped people who were dealing with AIDS. Many of my friends back in those early years were dealing with AIDS when there was no medication that successfully treated AIDS. And with Louise Hay and her positive approach, I saw miraculous healings of every kind. And I was then able to start doing this work with women who had AIDS and bring it into all different kinds of venues. And I received a lot of acclaim for it, and it wasn't my desire necessarily. I just knew that this information was helping people a lot. Now at the center we have some of our lessons, and all of them will be translated into Spanish for people who you want to hear the lessons. So stay tuned with us. We do our best to provide uplifting information. Louise Hay was a student of religious science, so all of you know that, right? And religious science, the textbook was written by Ernest Holmes. And Ernest Holmes said there's power for good in the universe, greater than you, and you can use it. So Holmes was talking about this idea that there's one energy, one power, and it's inside of all of us. And when we've been looking for love and God and all kinds of places, but Holmes was saying it's within you, operating through you. It responds to you. When I was younger, I came out of a parochial school and I had different ideas of what sin was. I was definitely, I guess, a sinner. And the whole idea was I had to get better and become better and either repent and um, when I came into the Science of Mind teachings, it really was through Louise Hay. And I also encountered a religious science practitioner, and I tell this story often. And she said, "You were the child of a lesser God." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, you were praying all the time, and you're a good kid, but you're praying and you're thinking you're a sinner." And her name was Mary. She said, "Greg, I want you to understand that the universe so absolutely loves you that it responds to your every single thought." And I mention that because that's really the entree to the Louise Hay thinking, where Louise Hay would say, every thought you think is creating your future. So tonight we'll explore the principles of what Louise Hay taught, also the principles of the Science of Mind. And I want you to know you're in a place here with us that's nurtured countless souls on their path to healing and self-realization. So let's start on our adventure this evening with open hearts and minds, ready to uplift and support one another, to learn and grow always, and to celebrate the incredible power of our thoughts and our beliefs. Together, we'll review some of the teachings that have transformed many lives, guided by the wisdom of Ernest Holmes, Louise Hay. I also usually throw in Ralph Waldo Emerson and many other luminaries. As we proceed, remember this is a place of love and support and transformation. Everybody who signs onto these calls are a vital part of our collective journey. We're really grateful that you found your way here. All of our classes are offered. Gatherings are for free. Some of you have started supporting the center financially, and we always appreciate any gift, no matter small or large. It doesn't matter. It's just the gesture. And plus, it's important that we be self-sufficient. So if you'd like to, there's options in the chat for you to contribute if you feel moved to. So I have a self-healing poem to start with this evening. It's short. Welcome, dear friends, with hearts open and bright, to a space where our thoughts turn darkness to light. In this precious moment, our true power lies, crafting futures of hope under vast, endless skies. Let's embrace every challenge with courage and grace, finding strength in our unity in this sacred place. For each thought is a seed in life's endless weave. In the garden of belief, what we trust, we achieve. So with joy in our steps, in love in our stride, together let's journey with hearts open wide. I thought that was a nice little starting point for us this evening. I want to read one of Louise Hay's short meditations, so if you just bear with me a second and we'll do that. Louise Hay starts us off by saying, deep at the center of my being, there is an infinite well of love. I now allow this love to flow to the surface. It fills my heart, my body, my mind, my consciousness, my very being. It radiates out from me in all directions and returns to me multiplied. The more love I use and give, the more I have to give. The supply is endless. The use of love makes me feel good. It's an expression of my inner joy. I love myself, therefore I take loving care of my body. I lovingly feed it nourishing foods and beverages. I lovingly groom it and I dress it. And my body lovingly responds to me with vibrant health and energy. I love myself, therefore I provide for myself a comfortable home, one that fills all my needs and is a pleasure to be in. I fill the rooms with the vibration of love so all who enter, myself included, will feel this love and be nourished by it. I love myself, therefore I work at a job I truly enjoy, and one that uses my creative talents and abilities, working with and for people that I love and that love me, and earning a good income as well. I love myself, therefore I behave and think in a loving way to all people, for I know that which I give out returns to me multiplied. I only attract loving people in my world, for they are a mirror of what I am. I love myself, therefore I forgive and totally release the past and all past experiences, and I am free. I love myself, therefore I love totally in the now, experiencing each and every moment as good and knowing that my future is bright and joyous and secure. For I am a beloved child of the universe, and the universe lovingly takes care of me now and forevermore. And so it is. So we can take that in for a brief moment before we go on with our class. I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about affirmative living. In Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, you get exposed initially to affirmations. And when I found Louise, we were all using affirmations. We're putting them on the monitors of our screens. We're putting the affirmations on our bathroom mirrors, everywhere. Our refrigerators would have magnets. So we were learning to live the affirmative life. We were learning to affirm truths. And I want to have you understand a little bit more why that's important. Most of the world is steeped in negativity, and when we were raised by people who passed on what the best that they had to you. Louise would say that we each came into this world as little beings of light and wonder and pure potential. And she said babies knew how to have their needs met. They would laugh, and the adults would all, go around the baby, and they'd be laughing right with the baby, or the baby would be crying, and the child would get attention. But soon thereafter, we start taking in a lot of information, and these beliefs become what we call our agreements. And, some of these ideas no longer work for us. When Ernest Holmes said there's power for good in the universe and we can use it, what he was talking about was the law of mind. And Louise would say, what you give out comes back to you. So if we have a lot of these beliefs in us that we've had for a long time that are working against us, we're unknowingly self-sabotaging. So if we have a lot of negativity, a lot of fear, that's just going to bring in experiences that are fearful and negative. So all healing is self-healing. We learned that through Louise Hay. And when you learn about affirmations, the more you do them, the more often you say them, the more energy you put behind them. If you bring yourself to a place where you actually believe what you're saying, you're building up your consciousness. Why is that important? Because your consciousness is being reflected in your life everywhere. So if I have a healing consciousness, that means I'm connected with Source, at least most of the time. The truth is we're all connected with Source, but when we talk about it in religious science, we'll ask, are you coming from connection? Meaning, are you coming from a connected place where you are aware that you are one with life? Are you approaching the ocean of life with a big container, knowing that I'm deserving of great good? If your consciousness is such that you know that you're deserving great good, then you're going to be creating an avenue within your own mind to have more good. If your consciousness is all filled with negativity and filled with fear and filled with resentment and anger and remorse, it's very difficult to experience the wonder, the joy, the beauty that is yours by birthright. So I learned early on, many years ago, a saying that I loved, which is, the universe's will for me is to be happy, joyous, and free. And you come into this life as a human being, and you're a spiritual being, and you're coming here to learn many lessons, and you're here to stretch. and you're here to grow. So learning to live the affirmative life is what we do, and that's what Louise Hay was advocating when she was talking about taking the positive approach. As you get involved in this teaching, you will be lifting yourself up. You'll be lifting your own consciousness up. And as you lift yourself up, you'll be helping other people too. We're learning to be lifters. Now, if you want to know what's behind Louise's whole conversation with affirmations, it comes from The Science of Mind, written by Ernest Holmes. And if you were to go to the glossary under affirmative prayer treatment, Ernest Holmes would be saying, this process, he's got two definitions in there. The one that I always liked the best was, it's the time, it's the art, it's the method of ridding this negativity from you. He called it negation when he wrote the book. So it's the time, it's the art of method of ridding that negativity that seems to be entrenched in us, right? And it seems like a daunting task, like it's too much. But it isn't really. You know, I've watched people work with this teaching for so many years. For example, if you stay tuned to this class week by week, and if you can tune to the class and tune to the Sunday message and do some reading on your own, what you're attempting to do is you're trying to turn that internal dialogue around to something that's more life-giving. You're trying to turn your internal dialogue around to something that's far more expansive. We play with it in different ways when we talk about never, never, never criticize yourself. That comes directly from a Louise Hay tape. She will say, you've been doing it for a long time, and how's that been working out for you? This critical thinking, this critical parent type of thinking, many of the ideas that we have within us might have served us when we're children, maybe. But they don't always serve us very well when we're adults. So we have to find a way to free ourselves of all this condemnation, all these unloving thoughts. And the other thing too is, when you know you're highly critical of yourself, you've got to know that you're going to be extending that same type of judgment outward in the world, and that won't work for you either. So all healing is self-healing. You know, so it's really always about getting a handle on that important conversation you're having with yourself. So if you go into the glossary of the textbook, Ernest Holmes will say, a recognition of spirits, what you're looking for is a recognition of spirit. Spirit being all-powerful, all-knowing, and everywhere present. And he said this form of prayer is a powerful method to set the creative process in motion. So what we're trying to do here is align ourselves, our thoughts and our intentions with the universal spirit, this indwelling spirit. Affirmative prayer in this philosophy is not about pleading ever or begging for something to happen. But what it is about is affirming and recognizing and knowing that there is a presence in you operating through you right now. It's a conscious act of aligning your thoughts to the universal truths and principles, where you acknowledge there's one power, one intelligence, and one presence. And that presence is everywhere in you and operating through you. And we're affirming the good is here, that you're whole, you're complete. There's a pattern of health inside of you, that you are prosperous, that you're whole and you're complete. And we do that even if we don't see evidence of it, because we know as we claim it, that we have the power to heal our lives. Louise Hay has some principles of her philosophy, which really come from the science of mind. The first is that we're all responsible for our own thinking, and our thinking produces experiences. Change your thinking and change your life. My outer world is going to be a reflection of my inner thoughts. So we get to be the guardians at the gate. That, I believe, that slogan, I think, came from Florence Scovel Shinn. We'd start paying attention to what we're saying. Is it life-giving? Is it life-enhancing? Does it help? Is it not? If it's not going to be helpful, and why say it? Uh, the suggestions in this textbook are to learn how to change that conversation around. Talk to yourself as though you would talk to a good friend, because every thought that you're thinking, all these things are creating your future. Louise often said, the point of power is always in the present moment. So that doesn't matter if things have been going awry for 10 minutes or 10 years, and you could say, but they always did this and I always did that. And when you find yourself saying things like that, stop and just say, I release the need to think that way. I'm in a new moment now. The point of power is right here, right now. Always the goal is to be in a new moment, to be here now, which was the name of Ram Dass's famous book. If you can drop all that stuff that you carry around with you, the resentments, the anger, the stories, the history, his story, her story, if you just drop that stuff, because it's very difficult for us to have new moments with people if we carry these histories with them that we have had with them into the present. It destroys relationships, by the way. If you've had some rough spots in your friendships and your families and things, and if you can't drop that stuff and forgive yourself and forgive other people, your chances of having a successful future with anybody is very limited, because you're not able to be in a new moment. And there's a lot of people that just keep on bringing it. They can't let it go. They simply can't, or they're unwilling to, is probably the more accurate way of looking at it. Louise worked with lots of people. She was phenomenally successful. Her book, You Can Heal Your Life, was on the New York Times bestseller list several times, and it sold more books than anyone had ever seen of this type. And, she said you have unlimited power to heal and to have great success. And the universe has your back 100%. The point of power is here. It's in you, operating through you. She's backed up by Ernest Holmes and Ralph Waldo Emerson and all these great New Thought teachers. And, Emerson used to say the dice of God are always loaded, meaning it's all working out for your good anyway. And yet we go in there and we think we have to seize control and make it happen, all of that. And what we really could do is slow down and trust the process of life that Louise Hay would say. That spirit within you is always wooing you. It's always attempting to get your attention. It is always righting wrong conditions. That's the thing, we ask you to start learning how to do affirmative prayer, because the first step of affirmative prayer is to recognize and know that there's one power, and that power is in you, operating through you. You can't do anything to become more good. Your value is already established. You're as good as it gets. And the thing is, it's one thing for us to preach it and teach it, but it's another thing for you to know it and realize it yourself. If you come and tune in with us every week, we're going to keep on reminding you that you're something wonderful, that you are one with the one, you are an individualization of this God life, and everything it is, you are. And you're the whole bit. And the thing is Reverend Ike used to say, you can't lose with the stuff we use, but it does require showing up. And if you can't show up with us, show up someplace where you can be taught this wonderful truth that the kingdom of good, of this energy, is at hand. Again, it's in you, operating through you. There's no place to search. It's a journey without a distance. You have it all right there within you, and it's looking to express itself through you. So the kingdom of good is right here. One of the things in metaphysics you're going to learn is we talk about oneness, meaning there's one power, one energy, never two, only one. So I grew up in a belief system of faith where there was a power for darkness and there was a power for light, and there's a power for good and a power for evil, and and a faith where I was punished and all of that stuff. And when you come into a metaphysical teaching, you're going to encounter some new terms. one of the terms that was, most interesting to me was this idea that there's one power, one energy, and it's always responding to you. So it's not that, so the idea is this energy is always present. What I had to learn is it's how I use the energy. If I'm lifting my thoughts on high, and if I'm thinking well, and I'm learning to love myself, and I'm learning to love others, and if I'm learning to look, if I'm looking to see the cup as being full all the time, that's what I'm going to experience. I had a religious science teacher, a lot of us did, a prosperity teacher, Edwina Gaines, and she always said, I look to see the God in the good. And then she would say, I look to see the good in the God in the good. And I used to get a kick out of her because she was a great prosperity teacher, but she's also was teaching this, she was teaching us how to see things, that we live, we move, we have our being in this divine substance. And that's really all that there is. So in religious science, you'll hear that saying a lot. God is all that there is. Some of us don't use the word God as much, so some of us will say, well, this source energy is all that there is. Deepak Chopra will call it the unitary field of energy. So there's one energy that everyone's talking about, and it's in the people in Afghanistan or China or the Caribbean or South America, any part of the world. It doesn't know anything about religion. It's just one energy that's in every single person that's alive. And we're all part of this energy, So when we think of other people, we think namaste. We think, it's a salutation. Namaste. I salute the divinity in you. Meaning I see the God, the good in you. And that's the reality of everyone everywhere, is we're all one with spirit. We're all evolving. And everybody's in a different place. And that really ought to be okay. As we've grown and grown up ourselves, we've made a lot of mistakes while we're here. And there's nothing to be ashamed of, because we're here, we're growing, we're evolving. And Louise so beautifully said, everyone is doing the best they can with the information, the understanding, and the awareness that they have. So let's give everybody a break and let's let them off the hook. Louise would suggest that most of us have enough work to do within ourselves to bring peace on earth. It begins with us always. Another book, I Could See Peace Instead of This. If you're attempting to heal your consciousness and heal your mind and develop an affirmative approach, a positive approach, it always begins with ourselves. I could see peace instead of this. I could see love instead of this. I could bring the light. I can be part of the light. Nobody needs our condemnation. Nobody needs our judgment. We all do enough of that to ourselves, I'm sure Louise would say. She would say, try love instead. I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. I want to extend love. I was told early on, years ago, that religious science practitioners, people who practice this teaching, are lifters. We're here to lift people up. God knows we could criticize people, but, we release the need to do that. We're quick to forgive, and we're quick to let go, because hanging on to anger or grief or judgment or any of that stuff won't take any of us where we want to go. So again, Louise, every thought we think is creating our future, so let our thoughts be on high. Let's hitch our wagons to the stars. Let's see the best in everybody. We're part of the transcendental movement too, which interestingly, even the word transcendental is, you look past this stuff. It doesn't mean you're unaware of problems or that you're dumb or you're not, it doesn't mean that at all, but you realize that you have spiritual discernment to know that everyone here is a perfect being that's unfolding in light. And just as you have made mistakes while growing, so has everybody else. And you will continue to on this pathway. And it's a divine pathway. All of the world is evolving. Every single person on the planet is expanding and growing. So we're not here to judge a soul. The point of power is here and right now. Louise says everyone out there is punishing themselves and suffering and has degrees of guilt and shame, and it's not taking you anywhere you want to go. And she thought with all the people she spoke to, if you got right down past all the complaints, it would be a sense of not being good enough or adequate. So in this teaching, we're here to learn how to love ourselves, accept ourselves, and approve of ourselves. And that's even when we know that we're not quite there yet. But we know that we're on a continuum, that we're expanding. You only need to look at your own life and look back and see how much you've grown over a period of a couple years or 5 or 10 years. That's one of the things I love from the book, The Celestine Prophecy, where one of the manuscripts would suggest we take the long view. And you'll smile if you think about your life. You'll see how much you've learned and how much you've grown and how much progress you've made. And if you can understand that about yourself, you can understand that's true for everybody. So let's release the need to judge anybody. They're all sacred beings, even when they're doing things that don't seem too sacred. They're evolving. We want to extend that. We want to bear the light. Louise commented that we create all the problems in our lives, all the so-called illnesses, the dis-ease. So much of it is caused by our mental condition and our judgments. And it was her point of view that if we let go of our resentments, our criticism, our strong opinions, our guilt, that we'll reap the benefits. We'll have better health and we'll have more optimism. We'll start living the affirmative life. She suggested we immediately forgive everybody you can think of. And if anybody comes into mind that you've had issues with, pray for the willingness to forgive. Even if you can't forgive them, just start considering it. She, in the points of her philosophy, said we must be willing to learn to love ourselves and forgive ourselves and release all these wishes for better yesterdays and if onlys, and we want to learn to be here now, free in this moment. We want to know deeply and profoundly that all is well. I would like to think, if you get more involved in this teaching, you learn how to do affirmative prayer and you build up your affirmations to a point where they're very, very real to you. In the steps of treatment, the first step is recognition, where you deeply recognize that there's one power in the universe. And then the second step is that power is in you, operating through you. That's step 1 and 2. And then you're going to declare something that is absolutely true. Like, I am one with the one, I am supplied and supported, I'm whole, I'm complete, there's a pattern of health, I'm prosperous. You're going to declare things that are true as true can be, and they've always been true. And the third step is where you bring yourself to a point where you realize it's true, where you have a shift in your own consciousness, where you know that it's absolutely so. And if there's anything that comes up contrary to that statement, then you release the need for it and you go right back into that third step where you're going to make that declaration and bring yourself to a point of realization where you actually energetically feel the truth of the words. And as you do this, you start to have a shift in consciousness. You'll feel it. And the fourth step is thanksgiving. You're giving thanks for the awareness that you have, the truth. You're giving thanks that you know the truth of this situation. Then you can release this idea into the universe, knowing it's done and it's going to outpicture. You have the power to heal your life. You have the power to heal relationships. You have the power to prosper. You have the power to do anything just about that you want to do, as long as you're aligning yourself with the will of the universe. And if you're wondering what that is, thanks to, I think it's Troward, one of our teachers, peace, power, love, joy, beauty, and wisdom. You want to align yourself with these bigger ideals. So we have power. There's power for good in the universe, as Holmes says, for us to use and to bring forth every type of positive thing. So we simply have to do the work. Willingness is the key. I've learned that many years ago in a 12-step program. The universe is always attempting to get your attention. My dad used to teach me when I was a young boy that spirit won't be the uninvited guest. So all we need to do is be aware that it's there, it's in us, operating through us. It will guide you. Keep coming back to these lessons, because we're going to keep on reminding you that you're one with the one, that you have the power within you to have this direct experience of this energy. It's attempting to get your attention, and you can heal your life. And so I think that's enough ideas to talk about for this evening. We're going to turn the call over to you now, and I want to get your thoughts. The most important thing is to know that you have the power, and know that the universe is unfolding in you anyway. And what we want to do is align ourselves with the good that's already happening. If you're able to align yourself with the good that's happening, it'll be a smoother experience for you. Because if you resist it, then you have the struggle, and it's suffering's not God ordained. Misery's optional. So I hope you stay with us, and we can keep on reminding you of how great you are. And what I'd like you all to start doing, if you are not already doing, is just start paying attention to that inner conversation. Thursday evenings, we turn the floor over to you at this point, and we love to hear what it's been like being you. If your conversation's been on high, or if you've been, coming from a place of connection, meaning if you've most of the week have been realizing you're supplied and supported. That's all we can ask of anybody. Is if we get off track, we get back on track as soon as we can. So let's hear from all of you. And if anybody's new, say hi. We'd like to say welcome. Thank you.